Welcome back to Or Something Like That, the podcast where you can talk shit with your besties. We're your besties and your hosts, Sam
and Hollis. Thanks for being here. Now let's start the show. All right, we're back.
Happy 2025.
Yeah.
Today is the first day of 2025, officially.
Pretty exciting.
Yeah. So we have kind of a special episode for you today. We know that, with the new year typically comes goals and resolutions, and that a lot of times fitness and weight loss and that kind of thing can really be like top of mind for people.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think we felt like this was a good time to release this episode. We actually recorded it a while ago. It's something that we spend a lot of time thinking about, talking about as women and friends, and it just felt like a good time to get the conversation going.
Yeah, something we'll probably talk about more semi-often. Yeah, so, yeah, I think you pretty much wrapped it up.
All right, well.
Enjoy, guys.
Enjoy.
Happy
New Year.
Yeah, we really screwed the pooch last time. Or I screwed the pooch last time.
My mom says screwed the pooch.
There's something great about screwed the pooch.
Yeah, it is a pretty good one.
It's one of those things, I do this all the time. I was just thinking about this earlier, where like I hate a certain turn of phrase.
And then you start saying it all the time?
I start saying it ironically to like make fun of it, and then I do it so often that
you like it.
It's a part of the vernacular, and I'm like, fuck, how did I become this person?
I know. I do that too. I
said totes my goats earlier.
I mean, Totes my Goats is kind of a classic. It's like, ever since watching Never Been Kissed, I can't say yikes without saying bikes.
Spikes.
Yikes spikes, always.
Spikes. Oh, I know. Billy Bobby. Billy Bolly.
Billy Bolly. Forgot about that.
Oh, man, what a great rom-com.
Such
one of the best.
a good movie.
And underrated, I feel like.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I feel like I'm always surprised at the amount of people that have not seen it,
Drew Barrymore's finest.
Yes, agreed. It's a very good one if you haven't seen it. And there's nothing that beats like late 90s, early 2000 rom-coms. I mean, I don't even really watch them anymore. I feel like they're just...
Yeah, She's All That.
That was the golden age.
Yeah. Very problematic, though.
Well, yeah. I mean, we just have to overlook that now,
But it, like, Never Been Kissed especially, though.
Oh, especially, yeah.
The
because she's a high school student.
Yeah, and we were all just like, oh, it's totally okay that he's
fine.
dating
They're
her.
in love.
Yeah, I know. Like, I didn't even... That
he's not
didn't
grooming
even
her.
Register to me.
Oh,
didn't
no.
even think twice about it.
No.
I was just like, well, she's
actually this age.
Yeah.
So it's fine.
Yikes, bikes.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll just move on from that. So.
Yep. Anyway.
So exciting episode today, I feel like. This may have to be a two-parter because I feel like I have so many thoughts. I have so many things to address. There's so much to say, and we're also like trying to go out on the town later.
But anyways, okay, so you have so much to talk about. Get us started.
Okay,
I'm dying to know.
This is notes on lots of things, but yeah. So I guess like I feel like we should just kind of start with our struggles and what we kind of strive for in terms of like trying to change our thinking, which is something I feel like you and I talk about a lot.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'll be completely honest, I really struggled. This episode is mostly going to be, we're going to talk about body image, but also beauty standards, diet culture, aging. So it's kind of all of it wrapped into one thing, and we'll probably be like jumping around. But I feel like for me, 35 was a really tough year for me. And I'm 37, going to be 38 this year. And I have a really hard time, like, not thinking, like, that it's over for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, my youth, my looks, like, it's over. And I feel like I am just, like, doing everything I can to just, like, try and cling on to the last of that. And I don't know. I feel like way too much of my self-worth is tied to the way I look and the way I am perceived by other people, like physically. And I hate that, but I feel like, I don't know. It was just, diet culture was so huge, and it still is. And I feel like we're nowhere anywhere near where we need to be. I do feel like there are steps in the right direction that we're taking as a society, but when we were kids in the 90s, I mean, it was rampant.
Oh my gosh.
Hydroxycut, diet pills, Weight Watchers,
even just
Nutrisystem.
I mean, not to cut you off, but even just, I remember waking up in the morning and turning on, when I finally got a TV in my bedroom when I was 17, I would turn on VH1 and I would watch music videos when I got ready for school.
Right.
And that was at a time when it was like the most sexualized version of pop stars
Absolutely.
that you could possibly imagine.
Yeah.
You know, Christina's Dirty, which, and this is not, I'm not trying to come down. I think women should fully realize their sexuality.
Absolutely.
And expressing themselves sexually is very healthy. But there was also like a weird time where it was like, you know, it's like that weird balance where it's like
right.
you're fed this constantly.
Yes.
Messaging where it's like, it wasn't really about empowerment. It felt like these women were being told they had to be sexy.
Exactly.
You know, maybe Christina.
And like, this is how you give yourself value, and this is how you become successful.
100%. Yeah.
And like, this is the only avenue.
Yeah. And if you aren't sexy, then you don't have as much value.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, you know, it's hard. I try to think back sometimes about like when it all started and when I first started to become conscious of my body in that way, because, you know, children are born loving their bodies. I mean, this is learned, you know. I remember, I think one of my earliest memories of like feeling like I wanted and needed to be thin and like taking steps to do that was, I think I was about like 10 or 11 probably. And I remember thinking, you know, and at that age you kind of sleep, like you sleep a lot anyway. You don't want to get up in the morning. But I remember the days that I would sleep later, like I wouldn't wake up until like noon or something. I would think to myself like, oh, good, because like I didn't eat this morning. Oh, you know what I mean? It was like the longer I sleep, the less I eat throughout the time that I'm awake. You know what I mean?
That's crazy. I mean,
it's wild. And I've, you know, done a little bit of research into, and we can get into this. I don't want to get like jump around too much, but I really try to follow like intuitive eating with my daughter. And one of the articles I came across said that children, especially female children, as young as 5 years old, were doing things and taking measures to restrict their calories,
which is like the most heartbreaking.
It's awful.
I mean, I can't, but I also resonate with that.
Right.
I mean, I don't think I would say 5, but I remember early memories of being insecure about my body.
Yeah.
I mean, it was very early.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, my mom and dad told me I was beautiful all the time, constantly, you know.
Right.
And I remember one specific memory. I was maybe like 8 or 9. I was at this Bryant Park swimming pool, and I had a tankini on. Remember tankinis?
Yes, I do. Unfortunately, I do.
And it was just that phase because I was a really cute kid, and I was always really skinny. And then there was that like prepubescent period, and I was like a chunker for a long time. And I struggled with. Most people would say I wouldn't, but I was overweight and felt like I was for a long, long time. And this was just when that period was starting. And I remember I went to the bathroom, and I was walking back from the bathroom to where we were sitting, and I was covering my stomach. Yeah. Because I was embarrassed, and I felt fat. And I remember I got back, and my mom said, "Are you sick? Are you okay?" Because she thought my stomach hurt. And I was like, "What? No." And she's like, "You're holding your stomach." And I was just like, "No." And I didn't know how to say. We're like, well, I feel fat, and I'm embarrassed to walk around in this tankini. Right.
And children hear everything, they absorb, and they internalize so many things that we don't even realize. And, you know, that kind of ties into the intuitive eating too. You know, one of the kind of principles is that you don't label food even, you know, and I get that a lot with my family when we're around my family, like, oh, like
I'm being bad.
I'm being bad. Or, you know, even just we were talking about like how bad this cottage cheese was. And like, it's struggle for me because in a lot of ways I agree. Like I buy Daisy cottage cheese because it only has cultured sweet cream in it. If you look at the ingredients,
is cottage cheese bad for you? I thought it was supposed to be one of those.
No, I'm getting there.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Because that's the only ingredient in it. Then you look at like other cottage cheeses and they have all these preservatives and chemicals and things. And so I buy Daisy cottage cheese because of it has that. I like that it just has that one ingredient in it. And I do think that's fine. I think you should look at labels. You should look at what you're putting in your body. But I think you have to be very careful about how you talk about it. You know, using that word bad, it's like you're attaching morality to food, and you're attaching morality to food decisions, like making a bad choice or a good choice, or something's bad for you or good for you. And I feel like that can be a very slippery slope. 100%. And like, because at the end of the day, making a decision about what you eat is not a moral issue.
No.
And
making one decision about what you eat when you eat 3 times a day, every day for the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
Does not define who you are.
Right. And it's not something that should be tied to shame or did I make a bad choice and now, you know, taking measures to try and keep yourself from making these bad choices. Like, it's just, the two things are not related. Food and morality are not related at all. And I think you have to be really careful. And I think a lot of people would probably listen to me and think, oh, she's being so dramatic. But I think children are so impressionable and so vulnerable, and they internalize so much more than you think. And it's this kind of thinking, I think, that leads to disordered eating. And there's 100%. So many different kinds of disordered eating. I think people tend to think of, like anorexic or bulimic. But I mean, you don't have to be that extreme either to have disordered eating, you know? And if you're having any kind of internal battle or internal dialogue about what you're putting in your body, that is disordered eating.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
my life's been, just smattered with disordered eating.
Yeah.
I would be hard-pressed to think many women from our generation didn't have disordered eating.
I know.
Yeah.
I think they definitely, pretty much, I would say almost everyone, and men too. I mean, I do think this disproportionately affects women, but you know, I know that men have their struggles as well. But they're almost in different ways, where men feel like almost on an opposite end of the spectrum, where it's like, oh, I have to eat more and get more protein so I can get jacked. And where it's, you know, we're on the other end, where it's like, oh, we need to be small because we're women. Yeah, and take up as little space as possible. And I mean, I was always insecure. I mean, and I'm 5'10". You know, I'm a big person. I always have been. I have broad shoulders. I'm a large person just in general. I'm as tall as the average American male. The average American female is 5'6". I'm not only big for a girl, I'm a decent size for a man as well. And so I was always insecure when I was bigger than a guy. You know, when I was dating, it was always like I didn't want to be with guys who were smaller than me because it made me feel insecure, and it made me feel like I can't.
Or less
it made me feel less feminine. It made me feel like I don't want to take up more space than this man that I'm with, you know?
Right.
And that was a struggle. And at the end of the day, it shouldn't matter. Like, you're not, you know, it doesn't matter, but it's so hard to unlearn all of these things, you know?
I know. And it's so crazy to hear, which is why I feel like conversations like this and podcasts like this where women talk candidly is so important, because we've been friends for a long time, and it took me so many years to get to know you to the point, or even think like, oh, Sam is insecure, because you are so confident, and to me, the epitome of femininity and beauty, and like you are so sexy, and like you were so confident, and you just seem like you always knew exactly what you were doing, and it's just so crazy.
I'm a poser.
But we all are.
I know.
But it's just so funny how, you know, the way we think about ourselves is so different than what other people see us.
Perception is everything.
Only we knew. And I completely align with you, and like this is something I need to go back to therapy about, because I had just started to scratch the surface of this, is like how much my self-worth is based upon other people's thoughts of me.
Right.
And how I wish I could find that internally.
Right.
You know, like if my self-worth could be completely derived by who I know I am,
right,
as opposed to how everyone else thinks of me, I just feel like my life would be so much better.
I know.
And it is so hard.
It's so hard. Well, and we've talked about this kind of recently. It's like, it's so funny, you know, you say that, because like I thought the same thing about you.
I mean, that blows my mind.
I mean,
I just felt like the most insecure, like passive, small.
Well, first of all, you were small.
Yeah.
Which I was like, I was always just like towering over you in this like giant ogre.
Yeah, but I was like a small troll. I was just like, whoa.
See, now we're doing it. Listen to us.
Exactly. It's horrible. But I think we're being honest.
My entire 20s, early 30s, like even now, I never wore a pair of shorts ever. And like we talked about this like not too long ago. And I always felt like I had fat knees. I had like these weird like fat knees.
I can never reveal them ever.
Yeah. I already like can't show my fat knees, and now I'm definitely not. But yeah, it's just like so ridiculous. I would literally be like sweating and like so uncomfortable and so hot, and because I would either be wearing pants or like motherfucker just put on some shorts, like, and I was so insecure. And let me just like say, they were not fat.
No, you had great gams.
They were not fat, and like
you had a great ass.
And even if they were, it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah,
like,
no.
There's this whole idea, and I hope this so much for my children, my girls, but the whole like philosophy of body neutrality is like so enticing to me and like so interesting, where you're wearing shorts because it's hot and you're sweating. Right. Has nothing to do with what your body looks like or what you look like in them. Yeah. You're wearing them because it's hot. Same thing when you go to a pool. You're wearing a bathing suit because you're swimming in your body. Right. You use your body to swim, so you're wearing a swimsuit. And like, that's it.
Yeah, every body is a beach body if you're at the beach.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And so, but I think back on that and how wild that was, and I still, to this day, sometimes I put on a pair of shorts. Well, not sometimes. Every time I put on a pair of shorts, I still think about my fat knees. But I have gotten to a point now in my life, I'm 37 years old, and I am the most comfortable in my own skin that I really ever have been. And I do think that's something that comes naturally with age to an extent, where you just get to a point where you're just like, fuck it, this is me, this is my body. Like, I don't have time for this shit anymore. Like, I have 2 kids, I'm going to the playground, it's 95 degrees, I'm not wearing pants. Like, and I do think that confidence and comfortability in your body is something that comes naturally with age. But I also feel like, especially for women, and I feel like especially for women of like our generation, it's like you also really have to work at it. Yeah. Like, it's a daily struggle,
100%.
And yeah.
No, I agree. And I find now my struggle is like you said, I feel better in my body than I ever had. Mostly because I actually like prioritize my health in ways I never had. Like, I don't want this to come off the wrong way, but like, I would never exercise. Yeah. Ever. I was not a sporty gal. Yeah. And I didn't ever but recently in the last couple of years, I have prioritized that strictly for my health. Right.
And not just physical health, but mental health. Yeah. That is more mental health than,
That's the number one reason why. Because I've had some trauma and like,
and you guys heard about that. So. Yeah.
And I've also never had a regiment, like I worked in hospitality or restaurants for so long. Right. I had 2 jobs in New Orleans. I was living a crazy life. I'm like, I never had a schedule. Right. And like finding a life that includes, like sleep patterns, eating well, exercising, making those things a priority and making a pattern out of my life have made me feel so much better and confident in myself in ways I didn't expect. And also those have an effect on my physicality, and I feel better about myself now. But what I struggle with now is this balance between like wanting to take pride in my physical appearance and find my personal style, and when is it like superficial, right, and when is it healthy, right? Like, where is the line of like
that is it's like, very hard.
I told myself, well, it doesn't matter, and like you need to not care about the way you look and not care about your body, but I do too. And I know it's healthy to care, and I want to take pride in the way I look and present myself in a way that is appropriate.
Absolutely.
And I think everything in life is about finding balance. Yes. And finding that balance as a woman from our generation with all those things is difficult.
It's very difficult. Yeah. And I think too, like, I think it's about changing our ideas of what's appropriate and like what it means to have style and be, you know, I mean,
what is sexy?
What sexy?
Defining what sexy is for yourself.
Exactly. And also just, you know.
And why is sexy important?
Right. Right.
Is it? What does it mean?
Exactly.
Sorry, I keep.
No, that's okay. No, that's okay. It's a conversation.
Yeah.
You know, two people would go back and forth.
I know.
What's that from? Where she's like a conversation. She's like, you know, we just like go back and forth like a conversation. Girls.
I just feel like
girls.
you were like, yeah. I just feel like you were onto something. And I just keep being like, ugh.
That's okay. I have forgotten now.
I'm sorry, but you did it.
No, it's right there on the tip of my tongue. But yeah, I think I was talking about changing kind of our thinking around all of those things, because I don't think that, you know, not giving into diet culture and not fat shaming and moving towards this idea of body neutrality doesn't necessarily like negate fashion and style and wanting to put your best foot forward when it comes to how you present yourself physically. You know, I think it's nuanced. It's, you know, and it's
yeah, you nailed it.
It's very difficult to navigate. It really is. And I was just kind of like when I said earlier, when I got here, I said, you know, I'm wearing something very trendy on trend right now. And even with that, it's like I'm like, am I too old to like be trendy? And then I'm looking at myself in the mirror and I'm wearing this black crop top and, you know, high-waisted jeans. Now they are not wide leg because I bought them 2 seasons ago at TJ Maxx. But I'm wearing high top sneakers and, you know, I'm like looking in the mirror and I'm like, oh, I look cute. I'm like on trend. My hair is very on trend. And then I'm like, I'm almost 40 years old. Like, am I? And then I have to tell myself, fashion is ageless. Fashion is not just for the young. 100%. Trends are not just for the young. Yeah. You know,
what are you supposed to do? Just wear gym shorts now because you're a mom?
Right. Like, yeah, exactly.
Like, no.
Sometimes I feel like that. It's like, and of course I have some pieces that I've had for a long time, like dresses and things like that. It's more when I dress like super on trend.
Yeah.
And
I'm
the
like,
same
way too, because I feel like, I'm just a follower.
Right. I'm a poser.
Not that I'm like aged out, but I do feel that way too, where I'm just like, okay, am I too old to be wearing this? And that fucks me up more than like, oh, I want to look good.
Right.
It's
me
just like,
too.
And I also struggle because I look young.
You do.
And I don't mean that in like, oh, I look so good, but I have a baby. I have a child's face.
Yes. You've always looked
always
younger.
Have.
Yes.
And I feel like if I dress too mature, I just look like an old lady. And I'm like, I'm still.
Or you look like a young person in like old lady clothes or something. Yeah.
Weird. But then if I. Like the other day I had the jeans I was wearing on now, and I had these like kind of high top Pumas, and I love them. And then I had some shirt on, and I was walking around, and I was like, I feel like I look like I'm 12. and you know, and I have like work clothes, I have other clothes that I feel like I have yet to like really nail down
your personal style.
I like so many things, but maybe that's what personal style is.
Well, and I think it's always evolving. Like, it doesn't have to be like, oh, this is my style and this is, you know, I think it can evolve. You know, your tastes change. You know, the trends change and your tastes change as you get older. And I think personal style is definitely something that evolves, you know, and doesn't have to just be like, oh, this is my style. Like, this is what I feel good in, and if this is what is kind of happening right now, and so this is what I'm gonna wear. Like,
right. I don't know why I question it so much. Like, who fucking cares? Nobody cares but you. Like,
so, and I've always struggled with breakouts and acne like my entire life, and I had like the most beautiful, like, just honestly, like, my skin has kind of gotten better with like each pregnancy and baby, which is like kind of, I don't know, I feel like it's strange, but then I guess it's like can kind of be common too. And my third pregnancy, my most recent pregnancy, it was gorgeous and like glowing and beautiful.
Like, holy shit.
Yeah, you did. You came over and you were like, look at your skin. And I was like, well, I just did a mask. And you're like, it looks beautiful. And like, I didn't have a stitch of makeup on. And then it was great for like 6 months. And now in the last couple months, it's just like completely blown up. I just like started breaking out to go back to the dermatologist. So like, I've always struggled with that. And I've always been very self-conscious about it. And I remember the other day, I think I texted you and was like, I just need to remind myself, like, I don't have to put on makeup to go to hiccup from school because literally not one person is looking at me or cares.
Yeah.
And like sometimes it's like I think about that where like I'll think so much about like an outfit that I'm going to wear for a specific event and like I want to look great, and then it'll that thought will come in of not one person cares, not one person, and not one person is looking at me, not one person cares. And like in some ways that's like so liberating, and then in other ways it's like devastating.
Yeah. And it's a phenomenon. We've talked about this before. We used to talk about this a lot when we were younger and like on our, you know, going out and scouting for dudes days.
Right.
Where like it's always the times where you like go to CVS,
you look like garbage.
Like trash, you haven't showered in 3 days. That, I swear to God, those are the days where like every man is looking at you like, oh damn. You're like, I spent 2 hours getting ready the other day and like shopped for this outfit for days and not a single fight. But now at CVS, you know, when I haven't showered for a week, that's when
I know.
You know, it's real.
And it's not
that I'm like doing that.
That's what I was gonna say. Exactly. Yes.
It's something you notice and you pick up on. And you're like, huh.
Right. And just to expand on that, yeah, like it's not. I am doing this for myself. You know, when I'm putting all this thought into an outfit and I'm, you know, putting on my makeup and I'm doing my hair. At the end of the day, I'm doing it for myself. But then you do have that thought of like, I'm the only one that cares, so why am I doing it?
And I say
like,
I'm doing it for myself, but like, is it because I have been trained so far in advance that we are making ourselves feminine for the male gaze?
Right.
That's kind of why I think it's
100%.
So, like it comes from the patriarchy.
Oh, for sure.
And that's what it's deeply rooted in.
Absolutely.
And we've all kind of foiled ourselves into believing that we're doing it because it makes us feel better. Like, why does it make us feel better?
Because then men will notice us. Yeah.
Yeah. To who? Not women.
No.
I don't care.
Well, and honestly, I was talking about this a little bit with a friend of mine too, as older daughters than mine. But, you know, when we were talking about how like girls, they're not necessarily doing it for the men. When you're like getting dressed up, you are doing it for the girls. But it's also like when you really get to the root of it, it's because you're competing with those girls. It's like a competitive thing. Like you think like, oh, I'm like getting dressed up. I'm going out with my girlfriends. We're all getting dressed up and like we're putting on makeup and like our hair is so cute. And like this is for the girls. Like we're doing it for the girlies. It's not for the guys. But I feel like if you really examined like the root of that, it's more of a competitive competing for the male gaze.
Yeah.
Than it is like really truly doing it for each other.
I hate to think that because
I know, but
I don't feel competitive with you.
No, me neither.
You know, like
but
I don't feel like when we go out, I'm like, oh, people are gonna say, I'm like, no, I never felt that way about
I
you.
never do either. But I think it's so deeply rooted that we're not even conscious of it.
Oh yeah, and that's what I mean. Is like it's a deep patriarchy.
Yes,
it's like we don't, and we've been taught this so early on. It's been embedded.
Yes.
So instantly that like it's just part of our nomenclature, you know, like we don't even, nomenclature may not have been the right word.
I don't know if that's the correct use of that word, but if we'll find out later when we Google it. We can cut it out. No,
but you know what I mean? It's just embedded in there, so it's like, oh yeah, and but then it does, like it's fun. Like I get ready in the morning.
But it is fun.
I get ready every morning, and I put on fucking Beyonce, and I look good in the mirror, and I'm like,
well, that's what we spent.
Feel great.
We spent so much of our we had a getting ready playlist.
Oh yeah.
We would get ready together in Hollis's room because she had the skinny mirror, which is like a whole nother thing we need to unpack.
Oh,
we looked so fat in my mirror and so skinny in her mirror.
Any mirror can be a skinny mirror if you put it at an angle. Pro tip.
Okay, but also not true. No, because there are certain mirrors that you look skinnier in. And I actually,
it's like a bend in the mirror.
There's like, it's like a specific way the mirror is manufactured.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it can be intentional or not.
I wonder if somebody should fucking patent that.
Well, they did.
Oh, okay.
And then they went on Shark Tank.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
And anyway, that's the story for another day. But we would get ready in your room. And yeah, it was some of the most fun times of my life. We're getting ready. And we always thought it was going to take us 3 hours to get ready.
And then we were like,
and like 45 minutes later, we'd be like, we're done.
Oh my God. Some of the best. I remember like yesterday.
Me too.
Like yesterday. I remember where the mirror was. I remember.
Absolutely.
I remember the outfits.
I remember Neutral Milk Hotel.
Oh my gosh.
I remember, what was that one, like old, Fats Domino.
Yeah.
That song.
It's always a lot of Hall & Oates.
Yeah, a lot of Hall & Oates. Yeah.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
I miss that house.
I miss that house. I miss those days.
Oh, God. So
oh man,
fun.
the best.
We
Glory
raged that
days.
house. We raged that house.
We did. It was a fun times. But I mean, I feel like all girls can relate to that, like college age or even like a little bit old, well, younger, you know, but especially in college when you're like going out, like getting ready together, like listening to your music, like, you know, doing each other's hair and makeup, like wearing each other's clothes. That was the main thing. Like, I don't like my outfit. What do you got?
Well,
Where's your going out tops?
Before you, I never had that. Like, I never had, like, I had 3 girlfriends in high school. We were super tight. We hung out all the time, but it wasn't like oh, we're getting ready together. Oh, yeah.
Well, there probably wasn't a whole lot to do in Ellettsville.
No, we were in high school.
I guess it really wasn't till college.
We were all weirdos too.
Yeah.
We weren't like cool, fun girls. Like, you were the first friendship I had that was like a real, and I always felt kind of
good time, girl.
Yeah. And we basically were able to share clothes.
Yeah, strangely enough, I don't know how we were able to share clothes. Like, I have no idea.
Still, but like tops and
crotch rocket.
I hate. This is how I know I'm old. Loud cars, motorcycles infuriate me.
Loud restaurants.
Oh my God.
Can't handle it. I'm like, how's anyone supposed to talk in here?
Yeah. Sidebar.
Anyway, little sidebar there. But I feel like that's a good segue into like the whole aging of it all.
Yeah.
I mean, and we've talked about this, about how, like, I think probably one of my biggest fears in life is like getting old. And I really don't want to get old. I hate getting older. And I guess I mean physically. Yeah. I don't hate getting older, like in the sense of the direction my life is moving, or like.
You mean like looking older, or you mean like your body?
My
being
body
functional?
physically aging, whether it's how I look or the fact that, you know, I have recently had a slip disc because I'm like bending over so much with my new baby, and like, well, she's not really new anymore, but you know. Things like that. I had that stupid neuroma in my foot. It was just literally just happened. Just
the name too is like neuroma. Just sounds old.
It's old, and now I have to wear inserts. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, so yeah,
but they're hot inserts.
They're very sexy inserts in my Walmart special sneakers, because I never wear.
I felt so bad when I had your inserts for all those weeks.
Oh, that's okay. I don't wear we don't wear shoes in the house at my house. Like, we're a no shoes house. And so I had to get, when I had these, and that's probably part of the problem too. Of course, my husband was like, it's because you never wear, you know, you only wear your slippers in the house. They don't have any support, and you never leave the house. So I'm like, okay, I never leave the house.
That is the oldest thing you do. You know that, right?
The slippers. And I have a house coat, bitch. I have a house coat and house slippers. I'm exactly like my dad's mother in every way, and I absolutely love it.
I mean, it is chic. I love it. And
well, it is. Yeah,
you pull it off.
I also have slipper. Sandal slippers that I wear. Fasciitis, yes, 100%. Sandal slippers that I wear in the summer because it's too hot to wear. Yeah, my full foot slippers, if you will. Yeah. So I had to get tennis shoes from Walmart that I can wear in the house only, so I can wear my fucking inserts and not have pain in my foot from my stupid neuroma. So anyway, that is neither here nor there. But yeah, aging is a big one too. It's like at a certain point, I feel like society is just like, oh, you don't matter anymore. Yeah. Like you get and I feel like it's perpetuated so much by Hollywood too, where it's like you're basically like you turn 30 and you're just written off as an actress. Like, there's very few women who are still getting roles and still being successful after a certain age. And I feel like that's what we see. That's what, you know, is presented to us. That's what we see. And, you know, you very rarely see women over 30 in a print ad or a magazine or even social media. You don't see a lot of influencers. They're all 19 and whatever.
And a message to all the women out there: you're not ugly, you're just poor.
Yes. Are you kidding me?
The only reason these people look like this is because they can afford to augment their faces.
Yes. And pay for all of these crazy
hair extensions, everything.
And not even just fake stuff, but like they can pay for the highest level of care, quote unquote self-care. Yeah. You know, all of these, like, you know, I've seen even some of the people from Vanderpump doing the, you know, it's like the basically the things they attach to your body, and it like seizures your body, and it's like basically doing like 5,000 crunches, and they're just wearing this suit.
Right. And let's be clear, no condemnation.
No,
Everyone has the right to choose.
If I had the money, I'd be doing it. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm not trying to sit here and pretend like I wouldn't.
But if you're looking at people and idolizing them, it's not because
it's not attainable.
It's not because you're not working hard enough.
It's because it's not.
You just don't have the fucking money.
You don't have the money, and it's not attainable for everybody. Yeah, and
I have to remind myself of that.
I do too. Sometimes I do too. I was actually watching Watch What Happens Live last night, and Melissa Gorga was on, and she's a few years older than me. I think she's like early 40s, and she looks so fucking fabulous. Yeah. I mean, just as hot as like a 22-year-old. I mean, and yes, she doesn't necessarily look 22. It's obvious she's older than that. But, I mean, her skin is flawless. Her body is, I mean, she looks amazing. And I'm sitting there looking at this like, and I have to remind myself that too. She's doing all these things. She's not just like getting up in the morning and eating a fucking bagel and like, taking care of her kids and then going, she's doing those things, sure. But she's doing all these other things that behind the scenes. Her priority.
That's what she has. That's kind of her job.
Yeah.
It's a lot of celebrities' jobs.
She's had she's had a nose job. She's had plastic surgery, but like,
you know what I also wonder though, and I have to remind myself is like, I wonder how uncomfortable these women are all the time.
What do you mean?
I bet they're so fucking uncomfortable. Do you know how much makeup?
Like,
and like all the sitting and doing, like, I imagine it is wildly uncomfortable to look that good all the time.
Well, it's like we talked about, there was
and not even just look good, but present.
Yes,
you know what I mean.
Like, it's always a presentation. Yeah. It's always glam. It's always. But was it you and I that were talking about? It was an episode of Beverly Hills Housewives where Erica.
The last reunion.
Yeah. And they all
white couches. They were like, who got white couches? There's just fucking tanner on everything.
Self-tanner, and not just self-tanner, but body makeup. Well, like, they're also putting makeup all over their bodies.
I know. I was like, what are we... And this goes back to, it's like, what are we doing?
I know.
And this is where I struggle with the whole, like, every woman has a right to choose. I don't condemn, plastic surgery, and I don't. But there is a line where I'm just like, but why are we doing this?
I know.
Why are we painting our entire bodies?
I know.
To look a certain way. I struggle with finding where I land.
I know. I do
what
too.
Side I land on, because it's fucking gross.
I know.
It's also like, well, do whatever you want, but I'm also like, but don't, because it's fucking it up for everyone else.
I know. And I do feel, I have a hard time not feeling like these women that have this platform have more responsibility because they have this platform and this is what they're putting out there. And like, I feel like sometimes I have that feeling and that thought, and I feel like it's not fair to put that on them because they didn't necessarily choose that responsibility, I guess, when they chose to do this as a living, and it is their livelihood and it's putting food on their table for their children and their families, and I get that. But at the same time, there is a small part of me that does feel like they have a bit of a larger responsibility to at least be transparent about it, which I do feel like a lot of them do, but not all of them. And I don't know. It really is tough. It's
really tough. I mean, I feel like I think about this with the Kardashians all the time, where like in one instance, they're like this female,
powerhouse. Yeah.
Which is like, that's fucking great. They've like risen up and they've like, they're businesswomen and have figured out how to be,
and they're smart. Yeah.
And like, okay, maybe they don't have any skills, but like no man has ever questioned about him being a businessman not being a skill.
Right.
But then at the same time, there are things like waist trainers. That was one that I had a really big problem with.
I know.
Really, we're making girdles and we're selling that again, and like, and I used to listen to a lot of podcasts about body culture and fat phobia. And I would hear defenses on each side.
Right.
And ones that really were sound, that like, it's every woman's choice to do what they want. And I firmly believe in that.
I do too.
But it's so hard because I feel like they do reinforce these standards that are impossible. And you know what's so funny about the curvy, we embrace curvy women now, but they've made it even more impossible, the standard of body, than the waist thin.
Yeah.
Now you have to have huge breasts.
Right. Now you have to be thin, But
and you have to
also,
have big hips, which is even more hard to obtain than just starving yourself and being skinny.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
it's like, I think about it a lot. It takes up a lot of my mental space, and I cannot find a stance.
I know.
I waver
I'm
back
the same.
and forth
I'm the
on-
same way. And there's part of me that wants to champion a woman for taking basically her sexuality and her body and turning that into a business and making herself so successful, and like that's fine. And there's part of me that really applauds that and admires that.
Yeah, you've been given the patriarchy, so you're figuring out a way to game it.
Exactly.
But are you perpetuating it at the same time?
Exactly.
It's like, what do I do?
I know. It's a catch-22.
And one time it's like, yeah, fuck you, men.
Exactly.
You're gonna meet the standards. I'm gonna make $1 billion.
Exactly. And I'm going to intimidate you while I do it because I'm also smart.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm going to
then all these millions of women throughout the world are just going to spend their life savings trying to look like
that.
Which is
I know.
unfucking attainable.
Right.
I know, it's fucked. What do we do?
I don't know.
Just be ourselves. Just be yourself.
I know.
It's such a simple answer, but it's true. Like, if you want to wear makeup, wear it. If you don't. You're beautiful either way. I mean, I come back to that. It's just like, I wish we just lived in a world where both were accepted, and seen on the same level, as opposed to like one's up here, one's down here.
Right.
Where it's just like whatever you want to be is beautiful.
And to me, I think it really comes down to value and what makes you count in the bigger picture. And I really feel like as a society, we really say, especially to women, like if you are not taking care of yourself, and I say this with air quotes, you don't count. Or if you're over a certain age, you don't count. And I think this can apply obviously to men as well. And I think you can even go so far as physical health too. Like, well, if you're going to eat all that sugar and get diabetes, then you don't count. Or, you're a little overweight and so you have heart disease. Well, you don't count. And it's not because, somebody can get cancer and nobody's going to think that or say that. But if it's tied at all to your physical appearance or anything that you could possibly do by way of what you eat or your lifestyle, all of a sudden you're put in this box of you don't count.
Yeah, and it's so interesting how quick people make those judgments based on zero information.
Zero.
Just on your physical appearance.
Right.
Just on maybe one instance. And then it's like, oh, yeah, I know exactly who you are. I'm going to make assumptions about your health.
Right.
Based on your outward appearance.
Right.
Which is preposterous.
But even if you know 100% this person is fat and they have diabetes, and you know that because, and I know there's fat phobia, there's fat shaming, and I'm using this word freely. I am. You look at somebody, at this person and you say, this person is fat. You can look at them, you say they're fat. Let's say
why is that a bad word?
Exactly. And why at the same time, you also know for a fact this person has diabetes. You can know those things to be a fact, and that person still fucking counts.
Yes, exactly.
And
100%.
matters. And it doesn't, even if they are not taking any steps to change their physical appearance or to make their diabetes better, or, they still matter and count.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the problem. I think that is the problem, is like, there's this weird concept that like fat people are sucking the resources and the life out of everyone around them. And I've had this conversation before. I remember being in New Orleans with a bunch of people talking. One of them was a nurse. She was like, well, I see fat people coming all the time. We have to take them as priority over blah, blah, blah. And like, they're doing it for themselves, and then they want to suck up resources. And I was just like, you're insane, lady.
Yeah.
I was like, would you say that to anyone else? Like, yeah, it's a choice. Like, no, it's not.
It's
and
not.
As a medical professional, you should know that it's not.
Right. And even if it is, they still deserve medical attention and care.
I was like, you should not be in the medical profession because you are way too biased.
Oh my God,
You're way too biased to be treating
sad.
people. And it's like, how did we get here?
It's in a lot of books, I have noticed. Like one of the most, and here, let me tell you right now, one of the best and most wonderful children authors of all time, Eric Carle, we all love him. The Very Hungry Caterpillar is a fat caterpillar at the end of that book.
Yeah.
And
that's not bad.
It's not bad. It's because he needed to get fat so he could go into his chrysalis and have his metamorphosis.
Yeah.
And so
that is literally a size. It's not, again, we were talking about before, it's not a moral standing.
Exactly.
Yeah, man. I could go off on this for a day.
I know. And we probably will. I feel like we need to come back to this.
100%.
There's more to talk about.
I feel like there's a lot of like subcategories that all tie back to this.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we haven't even gotten into, because we started to get off on the aging and then we got onto another tangent, but we got on the fat tangent. But yeah, I definitely want to get into how all of these products are being marketed to us. I mean, I have definitely 100% fallen victim to the anti-aging marketing scheme.
Self-care.
100%.
Yeah.
And and again, it's that line of, where do I draw the line, or where do I make the distinction between, yes, self-care is so important, especially when, you're a mom and you have children, and children are all consuming. I mean, they are, and you have to make time for yourself to fill your cup. And this is one of the things that fills my cup, spending time with you, doing the podcast. But also I enjoy a spa day. I like my skincare routine. I like my products. And so, yeah, it's like, where does that distinction come in between, when am I just falling victim because I'm trying so desperately to cling on to my youth, and the internet's out here and these influencers are out here promising me, clear and perfect skin or no wrinkles or, whatever it is. And I mean, honestly, one of the things that comes with breakouts is you have oilier skin. So like, I don't have that many wrinkles yet, but I'm like, I will. And like, I'm like, also like, but what I'm doing preventing them? So I can keep doing it.
And when do we accept that like your genes are a stronger factor than anything? You put
Absolutely.
In your face, and that like, no matter what you do, some people are just going to age differently.
Yeah. And it is a known fact that men do not age the same way as women.
Yeah, fuck you guys.
I know. I feel like we probably need to cut this one because we have town to get out to.
Yeah.
But this is going to be a two-parter.
100%. And drop us in the messages. Do you relate to anything we said? Do you feel the same way? Like, let us know what you guys think.
Send the DMs, comment, let us know how you're feeling. Let us know if there's anything you want us to address in the future, because we're so happy to do subsequent episodes about this topic. I feel like it's so important. I feel like
it rules my brain almost all the time.
I know. I feel like it takes up a big space in our brains. I feel like it's so relatable. I do feel like there are so many women out there who definitely are on the same wavelength with this, and I feel like there's so many more women that like need to be heard as well. So like, yeah, send us the DMs, send us the comments, let us know, and let's keep this an ongoing conversation. All right. Bye.